immediately hired someone. Unfortunately, she's moving out of state and just put in her 2 weeks notice.
Mm.
So we got another interview tomorrow for someone to basically be here in person doing the pick, pack, and ship, doing some of the customer service. Um, but that's pretty much a full-time job in of itself, just about. And so definitely looking at, hiring someone remotely to help out with a lot of some of the bookkeeping things. Something I didn't really realize with drop shipping is you get an invoice from your supplier for every single order.
Mhm.
And if you place 10 inventory orders a month, that's fine. You can handle that easily. When you get hundreds of drop ship orders a month and you get a separate invoice for every single one, all of a sudden that becomes a lot more stuff to keep track of, make sure they're all paid, make sure, everything went out. We get about 1,000 orders a month total, so it's just a lot more things to keep track of. So definitely looking at hiring someone remote to maybe help manage some of that stuff.
And there's usually things that can be done at that scale with the drop shippers to make it easier.
Hmm.
For instance, we just kept a credit card on file, so they just
Yeah,
dinged us every
they
time.
do that with most of them. So, or one of them, we've got some where they bill us every week, another one bills us every month. But I really want to be able to see in our bookkeeping, how much are we spending on drop shipping? How much revenue is generated from there?
Hmm.
Is it really making sense? Is it half our shipping cost is from a quarter of our orders, and it's only generating a quarter of our revenue? But it's all this extra work and all this extra cost, and it's maybe not worth it for some things. So,
Yep, makes perfect sense.
so
Just real quick, did we solve the Amazon part? Because it's still kind of complex.
yeah, I think that's where I definitely looked at was go after the low hanging fruit of things like books or some of these products that are very easy. I did a couple of test runs the other day. Finally got our Amazon account all switched over. The previous seller is now no longer getting the text message from Amazon asking for the
Right,
password.
the OTP.
um, yes. So I think I got that all switched over and got the professional turned back on, and turned off all the old listings. So we're not trying to sell something that doesn't exist anymore. But I did just list a couple of books just to kind of get things tested out. So I'm probably just going to continue working through that and just get the low hanging fruit. We do have some private label products that I've done some keyword research. I think they'll do very well on Amazon. I found a fairly significant gap where it's getting 1,000, 2,000 searches a month for a product that there is zero on Amazon, and we manufacture it ourselves. But that's one where I really do want to take the time to get that professional photography,
Yeah.
get the very nice listing, take advantage of the honeymoon period. Um, that may just have to wait till after Christmas, though it sounds like.
I mean, it
Um,
isn't, we were talking about the Christmas season and all that. I mean, if you're going to try some FBA stuff out, like I know, yeah, it does take time to get things checked in right now, and it is a little bit
mhm.
more complicated. I mean, it just takes long to get things checked in right now.
Yeah,
But it's not going to. It's if you send stuff in this week, it's going to be checked in before the end of November. It'll be in
mhm.
before Black Friday. If you're going to UPS stuff in, it'll get checked in. And doing it FBA will actually have less aggravation for you than doing fulfilled by merchant. You don't have to worry about the shipping times and tracking numbers and getting them uploaded into Amazon and all the other things that can get
Yeah,
you in trouble. Like you send stuff in FBA and they'll handle all of that. And it's going to sell faster and you'll probably end up making more money because like if
yeah,
you calculate in what it costs to ship it in via UPS versus you doing individual shipments when it does actually get fulfilled, uh, it's probably more economical to do it FBA, and you can send in 4 or 5 boxes of stuff, whatever random crap, whatever it is, into Amazon in boxes UPS and test it out. I mean, the worst that can happen is you can recall it later and get it back at like 50 cents an item. But
yeah.
I don't know, just kind of thinking through it and talking about kind of your setup right now, it might be the better way to go. I think in terms of man hours and aggravation, it's actually easier to do FBA in this case.
Yeah, I've got my app for my other account, and I just look down there and see, oh, $200 in sales today, and I literally did nothing.
Right.
Just they came through, they were fulfilled. I have a 3PL that ships, half a pallet in every month or so, and it's much, much easier. But So
if you do
yeah,
pallet shipping right now, it probably will be delayed significantly. But if you just send it in via UPS,
yeah. I mean, the UPS guy stops by every day,
yep,
so it's pretty easy already to do that. So
that's how we're doing it right now. Like, I mean, we have a policy as of like mid October. We stopped doing pallets until December just to get stuff in quicker, and it's about the same price.
okay. So looking at some of the other growth opportunities, I guess one of them that I didn't quite list, but it's kind of on here is really just that plugging all the leaks. I mean, we've got a sales funnel, but if they come to the website and it's an outdated picture or the description is 3 words or missing, all those things right there, it's less likely to rank, it's less likely to convert. Just spending the time to fix all that stuff on the back end and on the website, and maybe not all new photography because with thousands of items, that gets a little overwhelming. But and looking at are there outside services that can handle that for a reasonable price, or is it just not really cost effective? You were talking about, hey, I have 100 of these items that are similar. Take a photo of each one and send it back.
So I think the most economical way to handle this is to hire your own team.
Okay.
There is a few people that we recommend, and we don't recommend them. We usually save it for our premium members. But again, since you're on the podcast, I'll forward you to somebody that can help, and you can evaluate. They actually do it in the Philippines as well, and so if you want someone to just kind of do it, they can help with it. When you're talking about tens of thousands of items and trying to grow.
Well, it's only thousands. So.
Thousands. Okay, sorry, thousands of items.
Yeah.
Like it'll be millions of items by the time I get done.
So
here.
we actually have 12,000 items in our inventory, but a lot of that is stuff that, because the website's so old, there's things that have not been carried in stock in years, and there's a listing there, it's turned off, but it's still sitting in the database, and
Gotcha.
probably just needs to be deleted. But
Okay.
it's about, I think, 3,000 or 4,000 items that we actively sell between all the variations and everything. So
Okay. So yeah, I mean, this is a year's worth of work or whatever even for a large team to go through and
yeah,
and do. And it's not like once it's done, you have nothing else to do for the team, right? There will be continued work for them to do. If you're going to start listing on Amazon, they're going to start creating Amazon listings. If you're going to start creating private label products, you're going to be doing that. If you are going to be adding content, which I highly recommend, I think there's tons of content in this space. They can help with all that. There's social media. So again, there's going to be plenty of work for them to do. And if you were to hire a team of 2 to 3 people that did nothing but, like, their full-time job is to get as many listings or SKUs, products on your website, whatever, re-optimized, they can just sit there and chug through that. You can send the products off to them in the Philippines. This is what we do. And we send them a box of stuff. One guy's a photographer, the graphic designer, photographer person. Then we have, the content writer, or like a customer service type person. And it's usually like a trio of those 3 people work so well together in harmony. I mean, it's amazing how well our team has been able to do this stuff at this point. And if you're paying $600 a month per person, it's $1,800 a month. Still it's a significant cost. It adds up, no doubt about it. Once you add all their benefits and stuff in, it can be more like $2,100. But I challenge you to either hire someone in the U.S. to start doing this. You can even hire one person really, or 2 to find a service that can start doing it as economical as that. They're going to charge you by the piece. And it, really, again, you're doing this at scale. You don't have 10 products that you're trying to get done. If you had 10 products, I would say hire an agency. I got the perfect person for you. They'll take care of it. At this scale, I think really getting your own team is the way to go. Pick a city in the Philippines, whether it's Manila, Davao, or Cebu, like one of the larger cities, and try to hire them so they're all together so they can physically work together when they need to. Most of the time they can work from home. You don't need to get an office or anything. They can go to a co-working space or something to go take the photography and collaborate together. But they can do a lot. It's you'll learn to batch things. This is the way that we've done it. Where they're taking pictures of 20 products at once, and that way the guy then goes back and does all the editing and simultaneously while they're working on the on the imagery, someone else is writing the content. The CS person's like going through and doing all the, like, we kind of group CS, customer service, into like this bigger bucket of people that are they're also doing analytics and, you know, adding listings to the back end. And
Yeah, there's a lot of things like that where I've gone through and I'll find that, there's a field for entering back end keywords, and I'll go through there and I'm able to do some things. I've done a few batch things in Excel because I can export out parts of the database,
right.
make all the edits, copy and paste it all the way down. So I'm not opening a web page, making an edit, opening the next one, doing it 500 times, because we have several of our most popular product lines there will be a couple hundred of basically the exact same item. So you have a prayer card. It'll have one for St. Michael, one for St. John, one for
Right.
St. All these different things. And so it adds up very quickly to hundreds and hundreds of items of that type, hundreds of this other type.
Makes sense. Which is good in a lot of ways, because then, in terms of training or learning curve for whoever ends up doing this stuff, it's not as steep, right? You're not, and the other thing that's actually kind of cool, again, not getting into religious stuff, and please don't persecute me, anybody that's listening, but the Philippines is actually a very Catholic country, which can be maybe used to your advantage as well.
Yeah, we actually sent an order there recently. Got got an order on the way that the customer was just inquiring about, because it said it made it to Manila a week and a half ago, and it's still waiting to be delivered. And hopefully it does, because it was a couple $100 product. So
it's a challenge getting things into the Philippines. We've learned our lesson the hard way there. Never ever send it USPS. Number one.
So I think we used Global Post on that one, which I think they do use USPS, and then I think the Filipino post office takes over once it gets there, which unfortunately UPS and FedEx were hundreds of dollars versus
DHL is probably your best option for a lot of these international things. You can set up a agreement with them or work with them. They have their international division, and a lot of people are using DHL internationally.
Okay. Yeah, I know we had some orders to Australia that the Postal Service stopped priority mail and first class mail to Australia last month, and we'd shipped out this small statue, and all of a sudden the price of shipping doubled overnight, because we had to send it priority mail express. So
got it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think that the best approach here, if it was me in your shoes, again, it's trying to keep things in perspective, because we already have the team and we have a large organization. And I usually don't advocate for going and doing this, because you got to be a certain size before it makes sense. But I think that you're in that slam dunk kind of size. We talked about the numbers earlier. It seems like, you have room to hire some people, and you're going to get way more value. Again, it's going to be 4 people or 5 people to 1 in terms of costs from the US versus in the Philippines. And you have just so much stuff to drudge through. I mean, this is a lot of work. And they're really good at it. I mean, our employees there are just absolutely amazing. They crush it. And I think you can build something similar there, that it just, it'll take some time and some upfront work, just like anything else. But over time, I think it could be your secret sauce, that, you have the ability to get this much stuff done at scale at an economical price. And now that you're a team that can, next year and the year after, continue to do more cool things for you.
So I guess going down that a little bit more, do you have so at the time zones, does your team, do they work basically their local kind of 9 to 5, or is it, working on US time, which is obviously in the middle of the night there, and, probably a much smaller pool of people that are willing to work from 8 o'clock at night to 4 in the morning locally, or whatever the hours may be?
You'd be shocked, actually, in terms of that last part. There are plenty of people that are willing to work the overnight shift. When I'm there, it's like as busy or busier in the evenings, people going to work. There's just a huge presence of call centers there for multinational type companies, conglomerates that are U.S. based, doing a lot of telephone work. So there's definitely a huge pool of people that are willing to do that. But I have a different philosophy. I really like to treat our people like I like to be treated, and I would never want to work that shift. It's miserable. You're away from your family. It's not natural for your sleep schedule, et cetera. And I believe that, it's a global world, and, that we're not, it's not always all about us, right? I mean, you want to, if you're trying to get the good out of this relationship, which is the fact that because it's a globalized world and $600 a month there is going to produce the same type of lifestyle for somebody as making $6,000 a month in the U.S. It's just, currencies are different all around the world. It doesn't mean that, you get to treat them like they're 1/10 of a human being or like some things I see people doing. It drives me crazy. And so make their quality of life as best that you can. And so we have them work local Filipino time. It's and we structure their hours. They're working 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. I think is the window that they typically work. It's a little flexible in some cases, and that time works well for us. We're on the West Coast. I know you're not. I think
we're Mountain Time.
You're Mountain Time.
So we're just an hour difference.
1 hour difference. Okay, so you can probably do the same. That same schedule, 7. Anything earlier really gets to be a little bit tough. 6 a.m. is a big difference compared to 7 a.m. Just on the body and everything. And what that does for us in terms of time zones, half the year we have our meetings at 3 p.m. Pacific time, and then the other half of the year they're at 4 p.m. Pacific time, depending on daylight savings, because they don't do daylight savings. So actually, starting next week, everything's moving to 3 p.m. And so for you, it would be 1 hour difference. So you're going to be working a little bit later. I find myself, I get up later these days, and the bulk of my hours interacting with people are between 4 and 6, 7 p.m. Something in that range, which works okay. It gets a little bit inconvenient sometimes when we have people in town, or we're trying to do things for dinner and stuff like that. But pretty much every day I have a 4 and a 5 o'clock meeting with somebody on the team in the Philippines, and which will be a 3 and a 4 o'clock meeting here shortly. And the reality is that if you can't communicate everything you need to communicate with somebody in an hour or two a day, then you're probably doing something wrong. I mean, they should be doing work most of the day, right? And you should just leave them the hell alone. And with any employee. And so it works great. We don't, we're not looking over people's shoulders. We want them to get their work done on their own, with autonomy. We have Slack, so if they want to ask questions, they can get a hold of us, and also Skype. If there is something, and I usually have it on. And so if they ask me something at 9 or 10 o'clock at night and I'm not doing anything, just sitting there watching TV or something, I'll answer them. It's not a big deal. It's on my phone. It makes a little noise, and I help them out. If they got, I don't want them to have to wait till the next day to get their question answered. But if I am busy, then I just ignore it. If I'm out at dinner or doing something with friends, then I don't answer it until I get home or the next day. And everybody kind of knows that. And that's how things have been working. And we've been doing this now for 5 years. And the time zone stuff works great. All of our weekly meetings, Monday, 3 or 4 p.m., everyone's there. It's more than enough to communicate everything you need to communicate.
Okay. Yeah, I'd heard a few things where some people said they were trying, working with things where there was more interaction needed. And I can definitely see up at the front, the training, I might just have to work some later hours, which is fine. But
or you can ask them to compromise too. Maybe they need to get up at 6 or 5 for a few weeks. But again, I mean, I do everything I can at always and anything in life to treat people like I like to be treated. So I mean, I don't want to be getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work. I don't want to be working from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. That sounds awful. I want my boss to respect me and to give me creative liberties and value what I'm doing. And so we try to do all these things for our employees as well. So, and it works great. I mean, like I said, our team, I feel like, is our superpower. If there's one thing that we have at this point, I felt like at one point it was like the knowledge that we had, because we were at Amazon early, and I felt like we just kind of had an upper hand on all that. But everyone's caught up to us on that. But I feel like our team is really now the superpower that we have.